All right, so you might be thinking, it's just a dirt bike, big deal. I always wanted one of these. When I was a kid, I always wanted a little 80, 90, 100, 110, and I never had one. It wasn't until I was a lot older that I was able to start buying my own bikes, and I jumped right into the 600s and up and all the sport bikes and then cruisers. But my kids are into it. They love it. They've got their little pit bike that they're riding around. We've got the track down there now. You see how much fun those guys are having. I can ride this. My oldest son can ride this. I think my youngest is probably real close to being able to do it too. So I picked this up for dirt cheap. It needs a lot of love. We're going to go over it here in just a minute. But I don't think it's a lost cause. I think we got a lot of meat on the bone. I'm not going to do a full restoration or anything like that because we're gonna use it. We're gonna ride it. We're gonna put it out there. I don't know. Come in and let's check it out. See what we've got to work with. But I'm really excited for this. I hope you guys are too. So we've got a 2006 CRF 100F, and it does need a little bit of love. We're missing some pieces. Let's just take a look over. Let's get right up here on the front. All right, we need a new front wheel or figure some stuff out there, replace some spokes, but the wheel is damaged right in here, and it looks like they used some kind of, it's rubberized caulking or something to try and seal it. So the front rim is pretty much trashed, but I saw that from the get-go, so we've got one of those on order. Some of the more blatant things. It doesn't seem like it wants to shift in the gear, but this is stripped out, and they had an aftermarket Tusk gear shift on it, and it was stripped, so we'll look closer into that, see what that's all about. Some stuff has obviously been apart. These bolts are all loose. The chain is off. The back wheel looks pretty good. Nothing crazy there. It is tweaked a little bit on the frame, but it looks like it's just this rear support. Down here it looks pretty level. I think it's just bent right here. So we should be able to bring that back down. Rear brake lever is a spaghetti noodle for some reason. While this has been sitting, neighbor Josh needed a rear brake pedal, so he borrowed mine, but he's going to bring that back over. He ordered a new one, but it worked for him. It's missing this front mount, but I did order one of those too. What else we got? I really didn't look too much other things. I just noticed that when I first got it, so I went ahead and just ordered one. Same with that wheel. Otherwise, it's pretty complete. We are missing this side plastic on the tank. The air vent, apparently they call that. Or intake, though it doesn't really intake to anything. So we'll see if we can find one of those. The handlebars are, well, they are, ladies and gentlemen, they are bent. Like, yeah, they're bent. So I got another set around here, though. Some pro tapers we can throw on. Throttle's free. The carb is, yep, it's working. Probably going to need to be cleaned, obviously. Front looks pretty good. I don't think whenever they dumped it and bent those bars, I think they just bent the bar over here. I don't think it really messed up anything else over here. I think they probably laid it down, bent that bar, and maybe that's when they twisted the frame. Back here should be an easy fix. I don't know where to start. Oh, let's see if the motor turns over. All right, so there is oil in it. not going to try and start it, but I do want to just see if it'll kick a little bit. Ooh. There's about 450 gallons of oil in there. What the heck, man? It's coming out. It's okay. Yeah, well, great. See what that's all about. The bike is leaned to the left right now, and it's still overflowing out of there, so I don't know. I got the thing for next to nothing. Let's not freak out yet. I can't shift it, so let's just see if... Ooh, oh, okay, all right. Well, it turned. It's hard as heck. Oh. All right, it's in gear. All right, oh no, it turns over. It spins pretty decently. It is in gear, and it's... Let me see if I can shift it out of gear. I don't have a gear shifter right now, and that one that's in there is pretty stripped. So, vice grippage, we'll throw that on there. Does not feel like it's doing anything. All right, well, it's probably why the shifter's stripped. I think we've got a shifter issue. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. All right, cool. Well, all right, motor's not locked up. Got a shifter issue. Let's tackle that first. Why not? Sounds good. Let's do it. All right, while I rummage through my tools like a raccoon in a Snap-on dumpster, let's have a little lesson that you didn't even know you needed. The concept of the pit bike originated from necessity. In the early days of motorsport racing, mechanics and crew members needed a quick, nimble way to move around large pit areas. The first pit bikes were nothing more than bicycles, often custom-built or modified for speed and durability. Among the most popular were Schwinn Stingrays, known for their compact wheels and stretched frames that could accommodate full-size adults. These bikes not only served a practical purpose, but also helped spark the BMX craze in the 70s. Alongside bicycles, the 1950s and 60s mini bikes also gained popularity in the pits. These early machines typically featured a 3-horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, pull-start ignition, no suspension, and a simple rear tire friction brake. Though crude by today's standards, they were functional and fun, setting the foundation for what pit bikes would eventually become. In the mid-1960s, the Honda Super Cub 50 entered the US market, kicking off what became the Japanese motorcycle invasion. With millions sold, its 4-stroke horizontal engine layout became the template for modern pit bike engines. Soon after, Honda introduced the Z50 Mini Trail, the first small Honda motorcycle designed specifically for off-road use. Compact enough to fit in trailers and tough enough for rough terrain, it became a favorite in the pit bike community. First sold in North America in 1968, it evolved over 30 years and is known globally as a monkey bike. Early Z50s are now highly collectible, sometimes fetching thousands of dollars when restored. As the mini bike market expanded, riders realized these small machines weren't just for utility. They were also fun for stunts, jumps, and recreational riding. The rise of extreme sports media in the 1990s and 2000s, including the X Games and countless stunt videos, helped catapult pit bikes into the spotlight. Major manufacturers like Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki began producing more capable models, blurring the line between pit bikes and small dirt bikes.
Pit bikes are smaller, a more nimble version of a dirt bike, designed for utility and fun, whereas dirt bikes are full-size motorcycles for competitive racing and off-road. They typically have smaller engines ranging from 50 to 150cc, while dirt bikes have larger engines from 125cc all the way up to 650. Pit bikes also lack the features necessary for street legality, such as headlights, horns, and mirrors, making them purely for off-road or private property use. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, pit bikes had grown from an off-track curiosity into a full-blown subculture. Inexpensive and easy to modify, they became ideal for teenagers and adults to perform stunts and backyard jumps. Models like the Honda XR50R and Kawasaki KLX 110 attracted older riders, and soon a massive aftermarket industry emerged. Riders could upgrade suspension systems, install big bore kits, brakes, graphics and bodywork, exhaust systems, and even billet engine parts. These modifications make pit bikes stronger, faster, and more capable, a trend that continues to grow. With the rising demand, manufacturers and specialized companies began creating purpose-built pit bikes for both racing and recreation. Today, pit bike racing, often called mini-moto, is a global phenomenon. Races are held for both stock and modified classes, and the bikes continue to be used for grassroots racing events, recreational trail riding, stunt practice, and beginner training for youth riders. With a strong aftermarket, a growing racing scene, and their wide appeal for all ages, pit bikes are set to stay popular for many years to come.
So I know I'm going to have a lot of issues with the bike, a lot of little things over here that need to be cleaned up. I'm not going to strip it down for a full restoration or anything, but I think we'll go ahead and pull the plastics off, get all the junk off, pull the exhaust off, get that stuff out of the way so we can get in here and start tinkering with some of the mechanical things. First thing I would do is get right in there and just look at why it's not shifting and see if that's just a bent fork, something stupid. Hopefully it is. We'll see what that's all about. And then we're going to start tackling all the little things like getting brakes back together and all that stuff. We're going to have to jump in and relace a new front wheel. I have the rim ordered. They're really hard to find for a 19-inch. Believe it or not, I don't know why, but they really are. So I'm going to do all those little things. The rest stuff is probably just going to be finding it online and buying it and putting it on here. So we're going to clean it up. I'm going to show you how to do a couple of things there. We're going to check compression. I'm going to show you how to do all that little stuff. So hang tight. We'll get into that. First, let's just get the bike torn down a little bit. That's a lot of oil. What's going on? A little metal in it. I'm seeing a little bit of metal. But I'm not going to freak out yet, because it might just be whatever problem I have going on with the shift linkage. I'm going to pull this clutch slide off first. Going to get that out of there anyway. When you're doing this, keep mind of the bolts. Most of them are going to be different sizes. As you see going around, there's a lot of different heights of this plate. So make sure you know, because this is aluminum. So if you go putting the wrong one in there and it's too long and you're trying to crank it down, you'll strip it out real quick. This may end up being a full rebuild. We'll see. All right. Hey, don't. Sometimes you got to separate this. Do not smack it with a steel hammer. You'll crack the case. Rubber or dead blow is good to go. Yeah, okay. I got. That gasket was bad. All right. Doesn't look horrible in there. A little bit of metal on the bottom stuck to it. That could be a bad thing. It could be. It is. It's a bad. You have metal in your motor, it's a bad thing. It doesn't look too messed up in there anywhere. But I feel like I'm missing something. So my shifter mechanism comes through here, shaft comes through here, moves up and down on this little bevel. And as you shift it, let me get you in here a little bit better. I don't think this is the end of the world. This should be probably a relatively easy fix. Okay, so this is your shift shaft right here. And then as you click up and down, this thing moves left or up and down, and it'll grab the gear and shift it. I think I'm stripped out in there. I think the shift gear here is messed up and worn out, and I think that's what that metal is, which is not a big deal. Pull this out, replace that gear, but I can feel a groove in there, and I think what's happening, and we can kind of test it here. I think what is happening is as you hit the shifter, it's just sliding up a groove that was created in the shaft. Versus grabbing the tooth of it. So you look in there and see that. Yeah, I can see it going right in. That's supposed to be hitting that. And somehow it wore a gap, it wore a groove in it. That's pretty wild. So it just goes up right in the middle of it instead of pushing on it. And then the same thing happens here. It goes right through that little groove. All right, shouldn't be too hard of a fix. We'll pull all this out, we'll get in there and take a closer look, and I'll show you what that is. Well, okay, a little bit of playing around. I got back in here. I realized nothing was stripped this shaft and this arm right here was actually bent out, kind of away from the motor, and it was pressing up against the stop. This is the selector. So as this shifts, this will lock into place. And that's what you hear when you're shifting, right? This was stuck up against this and it was seizing it. So I don't know if somebody was in there, but you can see the wear marks on the side. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but all that protective coating, it's worn away. That's probably the metal shaving that I saw in there. And now, check it out. Shifts as it should. Easy, easy, easy fix. All I did was tap that back in, rubber mallet, little center punch, and I just pushed it back against it. And now it's not binding up at all on anything. There it is. So we got, that's first gear. And you got to remember that. There we go. Second gear. Oh, all right. Let's try that again. That's neutral. All right, we got first gear. We got second gear, third gear, fourth gear. Nice. There we go. And now we're in neutral. And this motor spins really nicely. All right, so I got the bike on a little tilt hanging this way. Gonna get in here with some brake clean. Just spray some of this nasty out of here. Try and get a lot of that residual gunk on the bottom. Now, remember that as I'm doing this, I'm getting all that oil that's on these gears and bearings out of there. So I'm gonna come back in before I do anything when I go to reassemble. And I'm gonna just lube everything up, get some oil back on and into the bearings. There are some sealed bearings. I like to try and stay away from those because I don't want this stuff soaking into there and gunking those up. Whatever, maybe that's too careful. I don't know, but I still really am just focusing on the bottom of the pan or the case, as I would say, and just getting that junk out of there and letting it all slip away from that. Might as well I have it open. I'm going to let it sit like this for a while, just let all that gunk come out. I'm not seeing a lot of metal. There was just some little debris in there, but it doesn't look like bearing material. I really do think it's from that arm just scraping against. Maybe we'll be lucky on that one. Who knows? It could need a whole new bottom end, but I'll put a new bottom end in it. Not a big deal. I'll show you how to do it if we need to. Okay, so off camera, I started stripping this down, and I'll show you how it goes back together. But I did take the clutch fork out and all that stuff. I'll show you how it all goes back together. It's really simple. There's nothing crazy to it. Just wanted to get that apart. We'll get the rest of this gasket off. And then someone had spray painted this. Obviously, you'll see this. This is not professionally anodized or anything. It's just spray paint. And it's clunking off. And I did find some of this, unfortunately, inside the crankcase. And I'm hopefully it just got in there from when I was taking it apart. But I don't know. The seal's kind of shot. And I found some in the oil dipstick area. So we'll see. But I'm going to put this in the blaster, just clean all that off. If you don't have a cabinet, you don't necessarily need that. And I have just a cheap Harbor Freight cabinet. I promise you it's worth the investment if you have the room for it. And a compressor, it's great. But you could soak this down, and this is aluminum. So you could soak this down in some kind of paint stripper. You need a good automotive stripper to really get paint like this off. Let's try that out. We'll clean this thing up. Before I did order the gasket kit as well. And I just ordered a whole gasket set just in case. But you can get, for the CRs, for this CRF, I can get that gasket. I think the cheapest I found at brand new old stock Honda was $14.99. Not a big deal. And there's a bunch of different websites you can find that on. But I went ahead and just got a whole headset, or got a whole gasket set, because there's some other stuff we're going to change over to, like the left side crankcase and all that. But yeah, there we go. Now, unfortunately, we get to the messy part. So I'm just using, I've already put one coat on, and this is just basic spray paint. So any stripper really probably just take it right off. So we'll goob that on there, and hopefully this won't be too disastrously messy. But it is bubbling up already, so that's good. Remember that this is just aluminum, so you don't want to use too toxic, too crazy of a stripper. That can start to eat into that and pit it, so that's why I wanted to get just a nice simple style. What's coming off? That's going to make a mess. I think there's probably already damage to the paint that was on here, and that's why they went ahead and painted it red. I'm not sure, so it's probably not going to look too pretty underneath. I'm going to just strip it down the bare aluminum and polish it. Keep that on the driveway, and we'll let it dry on there, and then I'll sweep it up. Oh yeah, it's all scraped up and nasty. Well, that's alright, we'll throw it in the media blaster. As you can see, the finish has been sanded on, scraped up on a bead that was underneath it. So I think we got all that nasty paint off. We'll go ahead and just put it in the sandblaster really quick. One of the greatest tools to have. I highly suggest finding one. Get a cheap one at Harbor Freight. They work fine. Boom. All right, that looks a lot better. I'm happy with that. We'll come in here with some steel wool and get that all cleaned up later, but I think I'll just put it back together, get it back on the bike. We'll put a new seal in for the kickstart, and then I got new gaskets for it. Let's make that go back on. We'll get it running first, and then we can make it look pretty later. So I started thinking that this mount's already off. Everything's already unplugged. There's 2 bolts holding this engine on. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just zip those out really quick, pull the whole motor off, toss it up at the bench, look it over, and then I can get this old gasket cleaned off really well. Get in there and take care of that, and let's do that. Well, we got some parts to order up. I did that a couple minutes ago. We got that new seal, the bearing, and a gasket kit. So as soon as all that stuff comes in, we'll finish up the motor, hopefully. But what I'd like to do is maybe we'll go ahead and get these handlebars changed out. Some new Pro Tapers, well, slightly used, courtesy of neighbor Josh. We'll get these on here and get that whole vent rack out of the way. Shouldn't take too long, so let's knock that out real quick. I don't know why we're changing them. I think these look great. All right, once we get everything else back together, we'll adjust everything, set the controls where we want them, go get the new grips, pop those on. We'll adjust everything for angles and all that fun stuff. Sweet, I love it. Much, much better. All right, so I think it's time that we tackle this wheel. Might as well do that while we're waiting on parts. Before we do, I want to bring you in close here. I have a little public service announcement. If you look down in here, this is JB Weld coating this wheel that obviously rusted out. I'm guessing is what happened down in here. It's missing a spoke. It's missing another spoke on this side. I don't want to sound like one of those babies and crying or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you right now, please don't do that. It's okay to cut corners on certain things. It's okay to redneck engineer certain pieces, certain things. You're talking the front wheel of a dirt bike. That gives out and you're done. I mean, that is something I would never write on. I wouldn't even, if I got it's a hole there, don't be stupid. Think about that when you're working on these projects. Think about the things that can happen. You know, if you want to duct tape your gas tank together to keep it going, all right, cool. Don't mess with your wheels. If your wheels aren't right, they're extremely dangerous. This could give way and bend these spokes and bend these spokes, and you're just riding out and having fun, and it slams and bends a rim. The next thing you know, you're flying front first over the handlebars. Not cool, really not cool. That's one of the cutting corners things that I don't condone. So we're going to fix this right. We're going to put a new rim on. We're going to reuse some of the spokes that we can. Hopefully, I got enough new ones that we can get ourselves covered, and we'll make sure we have a nice, safe front wheel. Anytime you're talking wheels and tires, man, you got to stay safe with those, all right? I'll get off my high horse on that crap, but I've just seen too many dumb things happen, and people get hurt because they just did stuff like this. All right, cool, moving on. Okay, I'm going to start lacing this wheel up. Now, I'm not going to do the full, this is exactly how you do it. This is the how-to lacing a wheel. There's so many different ways to do it because there's so many different types of wheels out there. Now, this is a Honda. This has 2 different size spokes. Simply put, longer and shorter. Reason for that is you have the brake side, which is much wider, and then you have the opposite. So you're going to have a smaller spoke or a larger spoke over here, smaller spoke over here. I always like to start with the larger spoke. So if I have a dual like this, where I have 2 different sizes, I'm going to start with the larger ones first. If you look on the hub, you're going to find a pattern. You're going to have outer and inner. Bring that up there so you can see what I'm talking about. You have an inner set and an outer set. Now those are opposite. When you flip this over, you're gonna, I don't think I can show you that really, but there's grooves. Follow the grooves. One's gonna go this way, one's gonna go that way. So the inner on this one is going to go to the left and the outer is gonna go to the right. Start with those, line them up, find the hole that they line up to. Start with one that lines up, and then you go opposite from there. There's a million videos on YouTube, so I'm not going to take that away from any of those guys. Rocky Mountain ATV has an excellent how-to section. Jump on that. Google your specific wheel, your specific vehicle that you're trying to relace, and you can understand how it's going to lay out. Now, there's some that have 3 different sizes. There's some that are all the same. There's some that are 2. So I can't cover all those here in a how-to. What I really wanted to show you is how much money you can save. If I were to just go buy another 19-inch Honda rim off eBay, I'm looking at almost $300 for any that I can find. I bought this rim for $60. Each one of these spokes is about, I don't know, $5, $6 each, depending on which size they need. And then I have all the old ones that I can reuse. So again, it's get it back on a budget. There's no reason you have to spend $1 million to get your bike back on the road. So I want to show you that this is something you can do at home. And then we're going to get into truing the wheel, which is a whole different aspect, but you don't really need any specialty tools for that either. You can do it right on the front of your bike. We're going to show you how to do that here in a bit. But let's get this thing put together really fast. I'll show you how that goes. You can see the pattern. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably going to be different for whatever motorcycle you're doing. But it's really the same concept. Go, all laced up. Now we're going to get it on a, well, I'm going to show you how to do off the front forks because, you know, we're cheap and that's what we do. We're going to do what's called truing, which is aligning everything and making sure that the wheel doesn't wobble back and forth and that everything is nice and straight. About $70. Nice new rim. Well, here at Slap TV, we're all about saving money, right?
This is a dirt bike. It's a little 100. We're not riding it on the road. When you go to true wheel, the right way to do it, I guess, if you want to call it the right way, we throw it up on a stand. Everybody's going to yell at me. Okay, cool. Truing stand, all that stuff. You can do this on the bike. In fact, a lot of times I recommend doing it on the bike because you're riding on the bearings, not the bearings of the truing stand, and you're on the actual axle of the motorcycle. So not a bad way to do this. I want to show it to you. I love truing stands. I have one. I use it all the time. If you're only going to do this once or twice, if you get a good stand, we're talking close to $100. Sometimes you can get away with not using that. So that's why I'm going to do this on the motorcycle. Currently, I have the spokes in the rim. All the nipples are still loose. Everything's spinning freely, looking good. So my basic setup here is actually an old motorcycle spoke right here that is clamped to the fork. And I have it as close as I can without touching. And then I have another clamp on the other side, the exact same clamp, just to keep it balanced. If I were to take that one off, the wheel keeps spinning to the left. What we're looking for when we're truing a wheel is the run out, what we call run out. We have lateral run out, which would be the side-to-side motion of the wheel as it spins. And then we have what's called radial run out, which is going to be basically an up and down motion. So it's how round your rim is. By tightening these spokes properly and evenly and adjusting, making adjustments here and there, we're doing what's called truing the wheel. We're going to try it on the bike, see how well that works, and see if I can't give you a couple pointers on how to do this, maybe save some money. But I am going to refer you to Rocky Mountain ATV. They have a great video on YouTube, and I'll put the link down there somewhere. And it will give you all of the training you'll ever need. But no, it's a really good video. So if this video ever becomes popular, I'm going to have 1 million people telling me how wrong I am and that this is dumb. But I don't really care because I do it all the time, and it works every time. 100% of the time. So the first thing we're going to do on this, like I said, these nipples that I have in here are just, they're spinning free on their own, right? I'm going to pick a point on the wheel, and the best thing to do for that is find your, where'd it go? Did I miss it? The valve stem hole. Oh, right here. All right. Find the valve stem hole, start at the valve stem hole, work your way around. It doesn't really matter which way you go at this point. And all I'm going to do is spin them. I'm not going to crank them in. I'm going to spin them until they seat or until I get a little bit of resistance. And go down the wheel and around the wheel a couple times each. Just spin it until it's no longer just free and wobbling. And I mean, these are just spinning. I'm literally so loose that they're just spinning. I want to spin them. I want to turn them until they just hit. And now I have to, if I were to make them tighter, I actually have to put force into it. And I don't want to do that. Spin, spin, spin. Spinny, spin. I have a spoke wrench. You can get this on that one online website place for about $7, maybe $13, all the way up to $100. You can get really nice sets. This is a 5mm wrench. You can also do this with a just plain 5mm wrench if you wanted to. I want to make it look like I'm semi-professional here, so there you go. Now, what I'm going to do is go around each one of these. I'm going to find a marker, and I just want to give it a quarter turn spin, each one.
And you're going to have to go around a couple of different times. You're not going to get them everyone on the first try, but just give it a little quarter turn. Now these heads on these nipples are square, so it's really easy to identify a quarter turn. Now we've got her just cinched down all around. Nothing's loose anymore. I'm going to show you what that run out looks like. So we definitely have a little bit of radial. You don't really need the pointer to identify that. And then you hear that little tiny scraping, little spot. That was me moving the bike wheel. But I'm looking at this pointer right here, and you can see it gets close, and then we go right back away. I like to spin it a couple times to see if most of the wheel is pretty straight, and then identify where my low spots are. Now, right there. She scrapes a little bit. But all the other ones are really close. So what we're going to do, slide you in there. You've got spokes that are mounted to this side of the wheel and spokes that are mounted to that side. If you want to draw it away, you're going to tighten the opposite side spoke a little bits at a time. Don't go nuts. So as I spin this, we see looking pretty good. Then it gets real close right there. Now spin it until we see it, and just take note of that. Now it starts to open back up. So we're going to draw a couple of these spokes, and we're not going to do every single spoke. We're going to go opposites. Couple spokes around it, and then spin it again. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, because I don't know how to explain it any differently. So I want to pull it away from there. That's where we're scraping. Up here and go opposite and just give it a little tweak. Don't go nuts. Like I said, you're not sitting here just trying to level it. You can really spend hours doing this and making it perfect, but that's the basics on this. So we're going to go through this. Keep paying attention to the lateral run out. And I hear it every once in a while. I'm moving the bike when I spin it, so you give it a second to look. So we got a little bit in there yet. I'll keep going through and just tweak it just to make it perfect. I'll spare you the expense of having to watch that. All right, I got the wheel, the lateral pretty good here so far. Looking sharp. It's not moving left or right. We do have some radial still up and down, but We're going to pick a point again. I'm going to take the valve stem hole, start here, and I'm going to go a quarter turn about every fourth hole, all the way around until I get to the end. And then I'm going to start at the next one and go every fourth hole into the next one and the next one. And I'm going to go all the way around 4 times and try and evenly tighten these spokes down, because even though it's true there, the spokes are still not cinched. They're still loose to a point. So I'll keep on that. I'll do that a couple times. We'll come back and we'll take a look how we are on our lateral. Then we'll start the radial. So now I've gone around to every 4 spokes each set, skipping 2, tighten, skipping 2, tighten, and go all the way around. We're going to go ahead and look for the radial run out. All I did was bring it over here. I've now moved the pointer to be over top of the wheel. And what I'm looking for is that hop, that up and down motion. When I find a spot, it gets a little too close, looks like it's riding high. This time, instead of every other spoke, I'm going to tighten each spoke a quarter turn right where the high spot is. So we come back here, we get a little close, a little high spot right there. I'm going to kind of center that. This is my high spot right here. So I'm probably going to go ahead and take these 4 spokes and turn them in a quarter of a turn. And I'll keep doing that until it draws it in enough that I'm getting a nice even distance between my wheel and this pointer all the way around. Pretty simple. Again, it just takes time, energy, effort. It can be a bit tedious, but it depends on how close you want to get it. Looking pretty even. We're going to go back to tightening tightening sequence. This time we're going to get in here with the torque wrench. I'm going to about 44 foot-pounds on this, or inch-pounds, I'm sorry, 44 inch-pounds. Same deal though, we're going to get in here. We want to tighten a quarter turn, starting at your mark, which I'm going to use again the valve stem hole. Skip 2, go to the next one. Skip 2, go to the next one. Now we'll go around a couple more times, tweak each individual one, then we'll come back and we'll check our runouts again, see our gaps. Still a little bit of a high spot right there, but that's okay. We can come in and adjust for that. Now it's okay to go a little tighter than what we torqued for certain areas, but we don't want to crank too much. So if you can't get it right, you can always go back and loosen them a little bit, retorque evenly all around if you want to, or if you're comfortable where you're at, you're good to go. Now, like I said, remember on a dirt bike wheel, you got a little more play. You got a little more room for error, so to speak. This is spinning pretty good, nice and even. It looks really nice. Little tiny bit of hop in there, but I think I can probably get that out just by tweaking it a little bit more, and then we'll be good. We'll get ready. We'll get that tire back on here, and we're all set. All right, that was pretty easy. While I have it up here now, you get a little bit of a closer view and see what I was looking at earlier. Quick rundown on a 4-stroke engine and how it's going to be set up in this. The transmission and the engine are all in one. This is your drive for your transmission, your gearbox, and all the gears are located in here. And you're going to have the shift drum, which is behind this. This cover right here, that was the piece that was messed up a little bit earlier, is the selector for the drum. It's got a spring-loaded wheel that as you shift it up and down, it'll lock into these little grooves. And that's what you hear when you're shifting. You hear that click it, click it, click it. This is your kickstart. It's got a large spring on it. It's going to go through and drive to spin the motor, and then quick recoil back so it doesn't lock up and keep spinning. Your shift lever, your shift arm, and then this is your main shaft, your crankshaft. This is the oil pump. So the crankshaft can drive that oil pump, create the suction in there, spread the oil around as it's needed. Pretty straightforward. Really easy motor to work on. So don't be afraid to get in there and just take a look at them. Just remember how everything goes back together is really all you need to know. When we go to put this back together, we'll put the clutch basket on here. And then there's a rod that goes in here. It's a push rod that's going to push the clutch in and activate it. Really, that's it. And that's all that has going on. This down here is a screen. So if you have this off, it's always a good idea. This is the drain plug right here. It's always a good idea to get in there. Check the screen out. That one's pretty clean looking, so that's good. That's a good sign. We're looking for any debris, gunk caught up in that. That one looks pretty good. I don't even see anything on it. So overall, looks pretty clean in here. I'm really hoping that I don't know what this thing has been through. So I'm really hoping that that main bearing is good. But I guess we will see. So I'm going to get in here. I'm going to check torques on all these. I'm going to torque this back down because we did pull it off. So this plate is on here. I'm going to look up the torque specs for that. Usually these are done in inch pounds or real low foot pounds. So a lot of times a bolt 6 millimeter, we're usually looking at 6 foot-pounds or less. And then I don't know, I'm gonna have to get on this drum and see what's up with that since we've had that off too. I think someone was in here at some point, and it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the right bolts. I could be wrong. What do I know? So we're gonna start getting this back together. One of the most important things, internal engine stuff, is going to be torque specs. You can actually get this you can download this manual for the CRF 100F online for completely free. I'm not their salesman, so I'm not worried about that, but I did find it on there. The bolts for the oil pump plate, cover plate, are 2 foot-pounds or 3 Newton meters, what it specifies. I do have a small torque wrench that is in inch pounds and Newton meters. So I can set that on the back for Newton meters, or if I need to convert it, remember that there are 12 inches in a foot. So if I got 2 foot-pounds, these are going to be 24 inch-pounds. Unfortunately, my wrench starts at 25, but you know what? I think we can get away with that. So we'll get on here. It does not take much when you are talking 24 inch-pounds, 2 foot-pounds. Got to be very careful. Don't crank it expecting a huge click, because a lot of these torque wrenches it won't be such a tight click. There we go. That's pretty good. Boom. There it is. Plate for the shift drum. I like to put a little blue thread lock on that. Don't need a lot. Get that in there. And then we're going to tighten this one to 5 foot-pounds. Or do the math. How many inch-pounds? That's right, 60 inch-pounds. There are special tools for this, but guess what? I don't have them. All right, there we go. Boom. 60 inch-pounds, 5 foot-pounds, what do you want to say? Beautiful. Let's get that clutch on. All right, so our next step on this is going to be the clutch. I've got it all pulled apart. There's a couple of things that you want to inspect on these. Obviously, you're going to want to look at the plates and the discs. Now you got your fiber and your steel. So if anybody watched the other episode on the Warhorse, that was a dry clutch. This is different. This is going to be a wet clutch. Now, when you buy an old used bike like this, you have no idea what oil they have used. And a lot of the problems that you'll see is people won't buy the more expensive oil that is for wet clutches. And they'll put that in there and you'll see a lot of damage on the clutch plates. You definitely need to have a certain type of oil that is compatible for wet clutches. On this style of engine, the same oil that lubricates is the same oil that lubricates the transmission. So make sure you pay attention to that, look at the right weights, and make sure it is specifically designed for wet clutches. I think this one was done right. Everything looks really clean in here. These clutches actually look really new. There's not a lot of wear. The grooves here are there's a lot of meat left on them. So we can get away with those for a little while. I can also tell you that they definitely grab really well. From when I was trying to kickstart it and it was stuck in fourth gear, I mean, it was really hard to kick. It was just dragging that engine around. So that tells me that it was locking in pretty decent. Another thing you want to look at is the basket. So this is going to be your clutch basket. Generally, you have the basket. It's going to be attached to the ring gear for the starter. So this is what is going to be grabbed by your kickstart. And then your clutch plates sit down in these grooves. And one of the things you want to always inspect when you have your clutch out are the edges of the baskets in here. What happens is, obviously, you're getting torque that's going against these at all times. And what happens is you get these little ripples in here. You get these little grooves that get worn in to the side. Being a 2006, I'm pretty amazed at how smooth these are. They don't look bad. There are some slight bumps in them, but it really depends on how hard it was ridden. Being a 100, it's not like it has the most power in the world, but this is still aluminum, so it can definitely groove. But these feel really good. Once those ridges get formed in there, the plate is no longer allowed. It's like your fiber disc that has a notch on it will get hung up on those, and it won't allow it to smoothly move and separate. And you can get a lot of issues with that, with the clutch plate and the fiber disc getting stuck and not sliding up and down the groove. You can cheat. I've seen this happen. You don't always need to buy a new basket. Depends on how bad it is. And I'm guilty. I've done it. But you know what? I've done it successfully. I've never really had an issue. If they're not too bad and you're just starting to develop a little bit of ripples, you can usually get in here and just file them down slightly. But you got to be careful of that, because obviously once it gets too much, it'll actually make it even worse every time you ride and jam it even harder, because there's more room for it to slide back and forth. So not really recommended on a little 100 like this. You just want to get it going again because it's hanging up and it's not too bad. I mean, go ahead, file them down a little bit and see what it does. I mean, worst case scenario is you got to pull it back apart and replace the clutch basket. If you are going to buy a whole new disc set, then I would recommend going ahead and getting the new basket if it's pretty beat up. There's no point in damaging your brand new clutch discs just to save a little bit of money on the basket. A lot of these parts are still available. Websites like Bike Bandit and things like that, you can find them for a relatively good price. So it's worth it. Don't waste your money. But again, in this situation, I don't really need to mess with it at all. So I got pretty lucky. So we're going to look up the torque specs for all this stuff. Going to clean them up a little bit and get ready to reassemble everything. going through a box of old parts, I did find something else in there that I didn't see the first time. And I didn't notice it. I thought they were just extra bolts and stuff because they had all this random stuff. I really should have gone through it a lot better. And normally I do, so lesson learned. We've got springs, valve springs. We've got an old valve, rocker arms, camshaft. Well, that's cool. But then I found a box with brand new rocker arms and springs, which is great if I need them. But what's in here right now? Yeah. Let's pop that valve cover off. Let's see what we find. Little worried right now. I guess I'm really worried. It looks okay. It's all there. We got guide keepers are in. I'm a little worried basically what I saw down here being put back together with the bearing and all that stuff, of what they did up here. Did whoever did do this know what they were doing? Is it timed properly? I guess that's one thing we can figure out. Yay. But hey, gives us something to do while we wait for parts. All game. Let's figure that piece out. Looks like everything is pretty good. I put some white marker on the timing marks on this model. On the stator cover, you're going to have a T and a line. You line that up with a little notch of the case that's right in front of it. It is lined up there. And then this dot has to be on the top. So it looks like they did that okay. Everything else seems okay. I'll probably have to get in here and adjust these. These seem a little loose, but they're definitely both loose, so we are at top dead center. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I think we're okay there. Worst case scenario, we go to start it and it doesn't start, right? Story of my life.
Here we go. Carburetors again. Carburetors, people, they're really easy. I see so many motorcycles sit and go to waste because it's got a dirty carb. They're really easy. Number one, bust open the float bowl. Or you can it smells old, but it doesn't smell varnished. You can smell that if it smells like deck stain as you're taking it apart. I would actually take that as a good sign because it probably means you just have garbage fuel and it's really clogged and dirty. You open it up, see what it has to offer. Wow, it's actually pretty clean. Yeah, someone definitely cleaned this out already. But that's cool. Look how the outside looks. Might as well, we're going to take it all apart. I'll show you a trick about cleaning up some of these components. Really doesn't look bad, just dirty looking old. We can get all that clean and pretty. Throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner. I like to use aluminum parts like this. I like to use Dawn dish soap mixed with water. Throw it in there, heat it up to about 60 degrees Celsius. I know it's Celsius, but that's what this thing does it in. Don't yell at me. Let it sit for a little bit. If you use purple power or anything like that, you're going to blacken the aluminum if you sit it in there, put it in there for a half an hour. So if you don't care about that, well, whatever, but I do. Yeah, cool. Clean it up, throw it in there. I think that carpet will be just fine. Super dirty. See if we can get all that gunk cleaned off of there. Trick 2, sonic cleaner with small parts, put it in a cup. Fill that with the water, put down in there. They should all clean up just fine. Keep the heat on and go. Carb pieces are all out of the ultrasonic cleaner. And look at that. Brand and new. Before we go putting this back together, the needle looks pretty good. The float needle. The seat for the float doesn't look bad, but it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So a little trick for that, I like to take a drill with a Q-tip, throw some metal polish on there, and go to town. You get that puppy sparkling like brand new in there. I do this all the time. It works every time I've done it. Do a couple passes with that on drill. I don't know if you can see down in there, but it's already looking nice and shiny around the seat. So it's going to make a good seal just like that. So I'll clean that up a little bit more. We'll reassemble this. And hopefully by that time in this video, my parts will be here. Probably not. All I'm doing here is just taking this pilot jet, just holding it up to the light, make sure I get a good, I can see through it. That one's a little tough. I think I might need to run a piece of wire through that. I had one laying on here from the last project. What'd I do with it? Guitar string works great if you know what you did with it. I never know what I'm doing with stuff. I swear I was like, hey, I'll leave it right here so I have it for next time. Guess not. All right. A big bundle of guitar wire I'm going to put right here for next time. Well, actually, no, I'm going to use it first.
You know you can walk over here and talk to me, even though I'm filming. I love you. What do you need, dude? You can make them. Yeah, you put them in there for 8 minutes. Read the instructions. They're easy. You got to peel back one of the corners. Microwave food. At least I'm feeding them right. Shh. It's lunch. It's okay. All right. Much better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's perfect. All right, cool. I'm going to put this all back together. And we will be good. Carburetor. All right, I'm starting to get really irritated. I'm waiting on parts again. It's supposed to be here Saturday, and then I got a message saying next day, then the next day. It's now Monday, and I just got another message saying next day. So again, that can be the frustrating part when you're trying to work on this bike. I probably have it done already. And I know I keep jumping around, but I'd rather keep the flow of work going. So I got some oil. We're going to go ahead and fill up the tank. I got the carburetor, fill up the crankcase. I'm sorry. I got the carburetor mounted back on. And we threw the new ignition switch in, which is just a simple plug and play deal. So nothing fancy there. I'd like to try and kick it over and see if we got spark. We'll go from there. But for now, we're going to throw some oil in. Now, you got to remember when you're working on these bikes with the internal clutches, you need a good oil that is meant for motorcycles with wet clutches. It's very important. We're going to use Valvoline for this one. Valvoline 4-stroke full synthetic motorcycle oil. The CRF 100 calls for 10W40. That's a pretty common oil in here. But whatever you get, just make sure you look on the back and say that's good for wet clutches. That simple. Just pour it on in there. Nothing special. All right, now a small pit bike or dirt bike like this is pretty simple. The electrical system is really basic. It works off a little stator pickup, sends signal to a spark. There's no battery, no anything like that. So you have the on and off key, which grounds out the coil. So when you turn that on, you got to remember the spark plug gets its ground from being screwed into the head. So if you want to check for sparks, simply pull that out, rest it against a bare metal piece of the head, make contact there. And with the key on, I think it's that direction. I'm very clumsily throwing this together because I just want to know if this thing is probably going to run or not. We'll get in there. And I think I see spark. That looks pretty good, actually. Oh, yeah. All sorts of electrifying things happening in there. All right, so now we know we have spark. We definitely have compression because I could feel it as I was kicking it over. So it's really nice in there. It turns over really, really well now, which is awesome. Helps when it's not stuck in fourth gear. So in order to start it, we should probably put the exhaust back on. But before I do that, I want to get in here and clean it up a little bit. It's not too rusted, but it's got this weird brown staining that I just thought was dirt, but it's not. Or it's, I don't know what that is, but I don't know. We'll scrub it up. We'll go ahead and take off the heat shield. For a 2006 model, this looks very 1970s. Possibly they had not updated it since then. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, guess what's rusted? Oh, man. Okay, what am I doing? Heat and fire flames. Now I'm asking you nicely, little feller. You can do this. I like to coat the exhausted ones like this that are black with this high heat. Works for me. Rust-Oleum high heat, flat black is generally what I'll go with. But what I do is I heat up. First, I'm going to take the torch, like you just saw me doing, and heat up everything here, dry it all off, get any grease and oils, burn those off. And then I'm going to heat it up, and then I'm going to spray a thin layer of this on, let it dry. And then I'm going to heat it up with a heat gun, and then do it again, and just put like heat cycles as I go. And generally, it holds up really well. It doesn't rub right off like a regular spray paint. So it works. We'll do that. Going, we had spark, have it back together enough that I want to see if this thing will fire up. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of starting fluid in it, see what happens. If it turns over or if it fires up, then we'll go from there. We'll get the fuel tank cleaned out, do a couple more things. But let's see what happens with a little bit of ether. Just want to know if it'll pop off. If it pops off, then I'm happy. Right now. Love it. There it is. Okay, cool. Let's get the fuel system going. Probably going to need a new throttle cable. And some grips. And another inner tube for the rear. Finally, my collar finally showed up. Get this put on, this motor mount. This is what's going to allow our clutch to work properly. That puppy put on, and we're going to try and start this puppy up. So if you look right here, this is the clutch cable going to the clutch mount, and then mounts to the lever that activates the clutch. So without that bolt or without that collar on the opposite side holding that bolt nice and tight, when you activate the clutch, this whole mount just moves, and it has no, obviously it doesn't pull the clutch. So that's what I've been waiting on. It goes right in this little, there's like a plastic clip, and then this is like an eye type collar that'll lock down in there, and it's a spacer. Get that down. I'm gonna have to fight that in there. So, but it's a spacer, goes right there, and then the bolt will go through, and then it latches everything, keeps everything nice and tight, and our clutch should work right. I'm gonna throw that on quick, and we'll keep rolling. Okay, I think we are down to the moment of truth. Put some canned gas in this just to avoid worrying about any junk fuel that we seem to get a lot of lately. Woo! Okay. A little flooded there. Alright. I think I gotta adjust the clutch a little, or adjust the carb a little bit. Gotta probably bring the idle up. Yeah, bring the idle up. But yeah, it sounds pretty darn good. Heck yeah. All right, let's do that and see if I can't get a good idle out of it. Yeah, it was all the way out. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Sounds good. Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't good. Gotta let it warm up before we really set that idle. So we'll see if we get some heat in it. Then we want to bring that idle down to where it's a nice, low, even. Maybe let it run. I like to maybe let it run high for just a little bit. And then once it's nice and warmed up, I'll tune it back down and get it where it needs to be. But it sounds great. I mean, man. All right. I think we got her going now. All right. Tweaking on the carb, just adjusting the idle right in here. I don't know. Seems pretty good now. I think she's trying to do her thing. We got to bring it down. Oh, here we go. Yep. Let it warm up a little bit, and then you got to get in here and well, one of my main goals for this channel is to, in one episode, get something running enough where I can ride it down the road. Now, we still got some stuff to do to this. I still got some little things, but I think we're going to go ahead and see if we can't ride it, see what it does, and we'll go from there. Don't have a lot of fuel, I think. All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We got it out on the road again, went through it, figured out all the big issues. There's still a couple problems that I got to sort out. It shifted, it went through the gears, but there's a lot of play in that shift lever, and I'm really having a hard time trying to find neutral. So we're going to get in there and try and diagnose that a little bit more before we go taking it down to the trails. But stay tuned, because that's going to be the next episode. I'm not waiting on any more parts, so I want to get this one out there for you guys to start watching. I don't want it to go too long. I think it already has. So for next episode, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to finish up the plastics. We'll get the fairings back on, get all that cleaned up. I'm going to go through that transmission one more time and just see if we can figure out if there's something that needs to be replaced in there, or if I'm missing something. Maybe I saw, but like I said, it shifts. And it shifts fine as I do it. It's just, it's not right. It's something is missing in there. So I'm going to figure that part out. And then we're going to throw that new back tire on, make some adjustments there, clean up the wheel, do some measurements, and then true that rear wheel just to make sure it looks good. And then we're going to go down to the trails. And we're going to have some fun with this thing. And that's going to all be in the next episode. So stick around and stay tuned. I really hope you're liking it. If you do, please like and subscribe. The more you do, the better I can do. I appreciate it. As always, keep it up on two wheels, and maybe one if you're going that way. That's cool too. But whatever you do, we don't tell Shannon. Say hi for the camera, Josh. That's neighbor Josh. Now you know.